So this is Nerdrotic. He's part of the same, like, fandom menace group as, like, you know, Midnight's Edge and Doomcock and all those sorts of people. And this is entitled Woke Black Widow, Here Comes the MGU. So apparently this is going to talk about Black Widow being woke or something, even though it's just another Marvel movie that happens to star a woman. But of course, that's too much for the people in the fandom menace. Just like Captain Marvel, they gotta bitch and moan about it for no reason.
Is the door to Iron Man totally closed? Because I don't believe.
Oh god. I can't watch part of the Joe Rogan thing, I don't think, without getting... Hold on. Did he get... No, okay. Might be fine.
I believe it is.
Oh.
You guys can go through time now. You can go... There was... You know, you already opened up that door.
Well, let me ask you the question. If I pick the jersey back up and put it on, wouldn't you feel a little bit like, oh,
No.
crap?
No.
Oh.
Here's what I think.
All right.
They go through a few semi-lackluster Avengers movies without you.
Nerdrotic.com.
Black Widow director Kate Shortland falsely claims Scarlett Johansson's Natasha Romanoff is the only Avenger without superpowers. That statement would be bad enough. Of course, she's forgetting Hawkeye, Ant-Man the Wasp.
What? Okay, clearly when she's saying no superpowers, she means she also isn't aided by, like, a super suit, you moron. And secondly, Hawkeye's a mutant in the comics, and I'd imagine as they bring mutants into the MCU, they'll count Hawkeye, but yeah, I'd agree. Hawkeye also doesn't have powers in the MCU as far as we know.
Iron Man, War Machine, Falcon.
Dude, they all have powers by virtue of the fact that they use super suits. Clearly she's talking about the fact that she's just like a person doing people stuff without the aid of either superpowers or incredible sci-fi technology. I'd agree Hawkeye still fits that as far as we know within the MCU, because they haven't said he's a mutant yet. He might be at some point. Who knows? But currently, yeah, he's also a person.
But it's made worse by her echoing the sentiments of Scarlett Johansson, who calls Black Widow an MCU film for the Me Too Time's Up era. It shows where Kate Shortland's priorities are. It also shows where Marvel's priorities are.
Oh no, recognizing the realities of the world in our movies? That's right. The horror. Thank you to the Pseudo-Sapien for hosting. Go check out the Pseudo-Sapiens channel.
Or Kevin Feige's. It's shown that they've lost their way.
You need to watch Black Widow? It's not out yet. I agree. I'd like to watch it too, but they haven't released it.
And it turns off the fans before the film comes out.
No, it doesn't. I'm a huge fan. I own every, like, you know those Marvel collectibles? What do they even call them? Marvel Legends props. You know these things? They sell the full helmets and everything. I own every single one of these things. I own the Punisher Iron Man helmet. I own the Ant-Man helmet, the Black Panther helmet, the Captain America shield, the Iron Man helmet, the Star-Lord helmet. I own both Infinity Gauntlets and Mjolnir. Like, I'm as big of a dumb nerd buying stupid plastic crap I don't need as anyone. And I am totally fine with the director of Black Widow talking about politics. Great. It's fine. So stop saying, like, the fans hate this. No, we don't.
You would think she would learn from the lessons past, but considering...
I have stuff... I also have a metal Eye of Agamotto, like the Doctor Strange thing that I got on Etsy. That was definitely made in China without a license from Marvel, but it's really well made.
How much knowledge she has about the Marvel Cinematic Universe, I'm guessing she didn't look back and take a peek at Terminator Dark Fate's performance after what Tim Miller said, or Charlie's Angels performance after what Elizabeth Banks said.
Actually, let me go get that Eye of Agamotto. It's kind of cool. I want to show you guys. Ugh. This is pretty cool. I got this on Etsy. The Infinity Stone in the center, the Time Stone lights up. I wouldn't lick it, because it was made in China. I don't know if there's lead paint or anything. But, like, pretty cool. I like this thing. I'm gonna wear this for the rest of the video.
Or Birds of Prey's performance after what Ewan McGregor said. Before we get into this article,
Birds of Prey's failure was not because of anything any of the director or actors said. Time and time again, I've explained this, and I don't know why people like this don't get it. The general public that determines the box office for these things has no idea anything about anything in regard to what the directors or actors or anything say. They watch the trailer on YouTube and then they go and see the movie, and that's it. That's why it always confounds me when people like Jeremy are like, oh, the public hates Brie Larson because of what she said. Dude, 90% of the people who watch Marvel movies couldn't even tell you the name of the person who plays Captain Marvel, much less know what she said in a specific interview years ago that you're misrepresenting in the first place. Chozo Lore Prime with $10, sharing what I can. Hope the car gets fixed soon. Thank you. And Wing the Ultimate Nug with 100 bits. Would you lick a necklace made in America? Don't judge me. Catalina Gearbox with $3. Now I get all my movie recommendations from anti-SJWs. If they hate it, I'll probably like it. That's not a bad way to go about it.
the question has to be asked, is Black Widow the next entry into the MGU? And I believe the short answer is...
Oh my god, the cringe. The thing is, I think Black Widow would probably be suited at this point to just go on Disney Plus. Because by the time it comes out, it's going to be like 2022 or something. I have no idea. But either way, whenever Black Widow comes out, it'll probably be very soon after theaters open back up and people start going back. And there's no way it's going to make the money the other Marvel movies did. And not because of anything that happens in the movie, or not because people don't like Black Widow. I think a lot of people like Scarlett Johansson. It's just, you know, COVID, and people don't want to go to the movies. And I guarantee whenever this opens in theaters and it doesn't do as well, specifically because of COVID and the fact that no one wants to go to theaters right now, or in the next 6 months even, all these people are going to be like, see, we told you, get woke, go broke. And they're going to completely ignore the fact that COVID is the cause of, you know, box offices being cut all across the board in the States. It's going to be ridiculous. They'll throw one line in like, although it may have had something to do with COVID, really, it's get woke, go broke. And it's going to drive me crazy when it happens, guys. I'm telling you. Did I see the WandaVision trailer that came out? It looked pretty good. Yeah, I'm very excited for WandaVision. I think it looks great.
Is yes. Thanks for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe. Now, I'm just kidding. Got a lot to say on this. You can like, share, and subscribe if you like. Now, yes, I said the next entry, I believe Ant-Man and the Wasp technically was the first. While it was baby steps, just take a look at this poster. I believe the film should have been called The Wasp and Ant-Man.
Oh my god.
Shortly after, by the most well-placed film in history, Captain Marvel. A couple of us might have talked about this film a few times on this platform, and
yeah, and it made you all look like idiots because it ended up being one of the highest grossing Marvel movies and the 23rd highest grossing movie of all time. It made you all look like idiots. Fresh pot of. Thank you for following.
And it was the first official entry into the MGU. What is the MGU? Well, it's intersectional feminist superhero storytelling, which isn't storytelling at all.
Stories I don't like aren't stories. I'm an adult. I'm a real film critic. Take me seriously.
None of us hate women. We don't want to see a sausage.
We don't hate women. Who else will make us our sandwiches and tuck us in at night? Dude. The fact that, like, every time there's a female-led movie like this, you guys freak out. Of course you hate women. I know you think you don't hate women, but, like, thinking that women are basically sex objects and should always be such, and if they have agency in a movie, then it's SJW propaganda, then that means you hate women as human beings. You like them as objects, but that's different than liking women in the real world.
Fest on the screen at all. We just don't want to see another Captain Marvel. Black Widow director Kate Shortland recently declared,
again, 23rd highest grossing movie of all time, and these people are still acting like it was a failure. It's so bizarre.
that Scarlett
It's like
Johansson
they live in an alternate universe where that didn't happen. It's so weird.
Natasha Romanoff is the only Avenger without superpowers. Shortland's comments came while promoting the film in an interview with Total Film alongside...
What is WandaVision? WandaVision is the... hold on. I can't show you the trailer because it's owned by Disney, obviously. But it's the new Disney Plus show that's Scarlet Witch and the Vision. And they're in like it looks like, because Scarlet Witch has like reality warping powers. And spoilers for Infinity War. Spoilers. 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 Okay, I'm going to spoil now. The Vision died in Infinity War. He had the Soul Stone ripped out of his head. So, it seems like Wanda has created a fictional, like, 50s sitcom reality where he's still alive and she's living in it. And that's what the show's going to be about. And it looks like as the show goes on, like, they stay the same age, but it's like the different decades of sitcoms happen from the 50s and the 60s and the 70s and the 90s, you know. It looks interesting. It looks fun. Oh, and they have, this is my favorite part, they have their Halloween costumes in said universe. The Vision is dressed as comic book version of the Vision. And I love it. I love this so much. Just, you know what? Just have this be the Vision's, how he looks from now on in the MCU. Just this, please. That looks great. And they also have her in her Scarlet Witch costume from the comics. Anyway.
Actress Florence Pugh. Well, Kate Shortland doesn't need to know anything about Black Widow to take on this role. I understand that. But there is time to do just a little bit of research. There's a famous example of this. There was a producer named Harv Bennett. He didn't know much about Star Trek. He took on a little film and turned it into Star Trek II: The Wrath of Khan, and he did that by doing a little research. Bennett was responsible for reviving Khan as a villain for Star Trek II: The Wrath of Khan. It was Bennett who watched all 79 classic Star Trek episodes and found that Space Seed provided a seed of inspiration, and maybe Kate Shortland should have done something similar. The director falsely claimed that Black Widow is the only character that doesn't have superpowers in the Avengers. Apparently,
dude, she probably just misspoke and wasn't thinking about it. Everyone flubs. It's fine. Who cares?
Hawkeye gets the short end of the stick. Again, also, Iron Man doesn't technically have...
No, none of this technical bullshit. You know what she meant. She clearly meant, like, doesn't have powers and doesn't use amazing sci-fi technology like Iron Man, okay? That doesn't count when we're talking about no superpowers. Iron Man is not Batman. Iron Man is a superhero who gave himself superpowers using technology. Clearly. Come on. None of this, technically Iron Man doesn't have any powers. Yes, he does. I understand that it's technology, but he does not come under, like, the no powers category of superheroes. Batman does.
Superpowers. He doesn't have any superpowers, but he does have access to a super suit. I believe he owns it. Others, like Ant-Man...
What do you mean you believe he owns it? Of course Tony Stark owns it. He invented it. Stone Corbell with 20 bits. This is stuff that we've been making fun of nerds for on the internet for literally decades. Well, actually, Hawkman is... Well, yeah. I find that stuff so annoying. It's so pedantic. Like, who cares? I'm a huge fan. I read comics. I watch the movies. I watch the TV shows. And I find this stuff to be so insufferable when you're like, actually, blah, blah, blah. Who cares? Who cares? Black Widow works better with the Batman analogy, to be honest. Yeah, pretty much. Widow has superpowers. She was given the Soviet Russia version of the super soldier serum in the 60s. In the comics, yes, but that's never been established in the movies. Although maybe it will in this movie, I don't know, but probably not since the director is saying this. But yeah, it was established that in the comics that she was given basically a Russian bootleg super soldier serum that didn't work quite as well as Captain America's, but she still had, you know, more than human stuff going on, or at least like almost peak human stuff happening. And yes, Hawkeye is supposed to be a mutant, which I mentioned earlier, but he's not in the MCU, at least not as far as we know yet.
Man, Falcon, and War Machine also use suits and do not have superpowers.
Oh my God.
I'm not sure, John, if you were condescending enough. You might want to try a little harder. After falsely claiming Black Widow is the only one who doesn't have superpowers, she claims the lack of superpowers is a strength. Just giving John F. Trent a hard time, and that's who wrote this article. He's a friend of mine. He's a good guy. Shortland explains, we saw that as a strength because she always has to dig really deep to get out of shite situations.
Dude, have you ever read any article from directors or writers or stars of movies? They all come off like this. It's all very ingenuine. It's all like, oh, inspirational pap about the characters, basically. Excuse me. Like, this is not something that's unique to Black Widow. I'm pretty sure basically every Marvel movie has had some stupid article where the director waxes poetic about why the character is important and where their strength comes from. You can do the same thing about Tony Stark. Like, Tony Stark, you know, he's a really strong character because a lot of characters, you know, they've always been the moral good, but Tony Stark actually used to be a weapons manufacturer, and only through his trials and tribulations did he really learn to refocus and view himself in a different light and become the hero that is Iron Man. Like, you can, this kind of stuff happens all the time when you're promoting a movie. You have to come up with like things to say on these press junkets, and you just say stuff that sounds positive about the character. And because it's like marketing for this giant movie produced by Disney, it's gonna come off as like kind of cringe. Have you never read, like, things like this before for other movies? Shouldn't you have? You seem to do movie stuff for a living. This is not new.
That's what all superheroes have to do. And we just put her in a lot of hard situations, just like all the other superheroes that you forgot about. I thought about women walking to the train station being attacked and what happens. What do you think about, Kate? She unfortunately can.
Dude, she's talking about the fact that that's a real thing that happens, and talking about, like, in this movie, it's usually superhero movies like Iron Man or Batman or Captain America. A lot of the times they're male empowerment fantasies, right? And this is the same thing. A lot of male empowerment fantasies might be about saving people or whatever, but like a female empowerment fantasy will not only be about being able to save people, but probably being able to protect yourself, because because women face different struggles than men do in regard to protection within society. Women are always in situations in public, especially like if they're out alone at night, in which there's the potential for danger that doesn't exist in the same way for men. Like, a man might get mugged in the middle of the night somewhere, but worse is going to tend to happen for women, statistically speaking. So the idea of talking about this in regard to a female empowerment fantasy isn't as ridiculous as you're making it seem. Like, if this isn't something you understand, that's fine, but then why make a video about it? Very strange.
Continues. Natasha's like Jodie Foster's Clarice from Silence of the Lambs? No, she isn't. It's great because when she holds her gun, it shakes. You mean Clarice? Yes. Natasha? No. But she's really tough inside and resilient, and I wanted to bring that to the character. Well, considering that she probably hasn't watched the previous MCU films, I hate to tell her.
I very much doubt she hasn't watched the previous movies with the character she's directing a movie about in. I very much doubt that.
That Jon Favreau has already brought that to the character, and love him or hate him, he is a bit of a psycho. Joss Whedon has already brought that to the character as well. So you're not just watching her fly through situations, knowing she'll get out of it. That's exactly what we'll be watching. We know she gets out of it because she dies in Endgame. She survives this film. You want to see her grit and determination, and that's what we got, Shortland concluded. Yeah, a superhero. Good. Considering the film that we have been covering from that streaming service over the last week, I know this pales in comparison, but I do cover the MCU here. Now, we know Black Widow should have come out 7 years ago. We know Kevin Feige has blamed Ike Perlmutter for this, and that might be the case, but the last time I checked, Kevin has been in charge of Marvel for quite some time, and this film feels...
No, he was in charge of some stuff within Marvel, but Ike Perlmutter, who used to work within Marvel Studios, wouldn't allow a Black Widow movie to move forward because he didn't think people wanted to see female superheroes. And then Ike Perlmutter got outed, which is a good thing. Chris McGuffin, thank you for following. Welcome to the stream.
Feels a little obligatory, especially since the character is dead. We also know that Black Widow would work best as a hard rated R film filled with sex and violence. And
no one is going to make, let me rephrase, Disney is not going to make an R-rated Marvel movie. They're not going to do it. They just won't, which is why we're probably never going to get another Deadpool movie, unfortunately. Nonetheless, I don't think in order to make a good Black Widow movie, you have to make it an R-rated movie. Like, you can do fun spy adventure that fits into the MCU without, like, graphic violence and sex.
And we know Hollywood won't do that, much
like,
less...
you can even do, like, femme fatale stuff if that's what you want in your Black Widow movie, though that doesn't appear to be what the movie is focusing on whatsoever. But that has been a part of the character that's even been referenced in stuff like the Avengers movie, when she's, like, tied up in the chair and she's got, like, the dress on, like she was just at a party or whatever. They reference the femme fatale part of the Black Widow character. They haven't really gotten into it, but, like, you could do that in a PG-13 setting without having graphic sex scenes. I wouldn't even want that. Why do I need to see graphic sex scenes with Black Widow? Like, you get it. Like, I don't even think Black Widow would necessarily actually sleep with people in order to get stuff done. She'd lead them on and then put them in a situation where they have to give her information or whatever once they got into private. Tubeman 642, I'm going to hate when the Snyder Cut comes out and people like this will never shut up about how good they think it is. Oh yeah, that Snyder Cut's going to be a nightmare to sit through. 3 hours long, or 4 hours, I don't remember how long it was, but it's like 3 or 4 hours.
Disney at this point. So the best we can hope for is a Winter Soldier light. And I'm not too sure this director has that kind of mindset or that kind of worldview. Unfortunately, the interview continues and we hear from the actress playing the other Black Widow, showing that somebody on the set read some comic books, or at least a Wikipedia. That Black Widow from the Marvel Knights run back in the day, Yelena Belevo. Pugh would also weigh in on the film, claiming that it is about the abuse of women. I was kind of hoping it would be about Black Widow. She told Total...
Oh my god, you idiot. Did you watch the previous Marvel films? They're going to talk about the fact that she was trained in that school in Russia that abused her and then forced her to get sterilized because of the work that they'd be doing. It's going to be talking about that. That's part of Black Widow's character that was already put into the previous movies. Did you not watch the movies? Why are you telling this? Like, it's so hypocritical of you to be like, oh, did you even watch the movies? When you're not even paying attention to what happened in the movies that you say you watched.
This film is about the abuse of women. It's about how they get involuntary hysterectomies. Oh, that, man, I have been waiting to see that in a Marvel.
Hey, dummy. Yes, literally, because that was something that was already established in Age of Ultron. Have you seen the Marvel movies, bud, that you're talking about, and that you're getting mad at someone else for not knowing the intricacies of when you can't even remember a basic plot point in one of the big movies? What is this guy?
Film. I was just talking with my friends the other day. You know what? You know what's been missing from a Marvel film? Involuntary hysterectomies. Thank God we're getting it now.
It was already in Age of Ultron. Like, did you not watch the movie? Why are you talking about it like this if you didn't watch it?
By the age of 8. Remember how well that went over in the Age of Ultron when they alluded to that?
Okay, so you do know it happened. So, what's your complaint here?
Websites were whinging, including the Mary Sue. Now I'm betting there'll be a champion of it because we're in the era of the victim. Maybe this will be victim porn, and maybe it'll play great to that audience of 10 or 15 people. It's about girls who are stolen from around the world. It's so painful, and it's so important. Again, these themes are in the Black Widow comic books with the retconned origin over the last couple of decades. God, has it been that long since Marvel Knights and that Black Widow miniseries from 2004? I can't even remember the name of it. And those things are fine as long as they don't take over the story.
Oh my God. These things are fine as long... These things are fine as long as it doesn't get in the way of the movie I want to watch, which includes a bunch of Scarlett Johansson TNA. Are you fucking 13 years old? Dude, come on.
To say part of the excitement for me is that women and girls from around the world are going to see this, and they're going to see an abuse story. Oh my God. I can hear all my viewers now who all have daughters going, come on, honey, we're going to go see an abuse story. Can't wait. Black Widow.
As long as they don't flaunt it.
An abuse story that really was challenged by its own victims.
I don't know what that's in regard to.
This film obviously could still be good, but I think there's some problems.
Dude, you're not going to like the movie either way. You guys didn't like Captain Marvel either, and that was, again, the 23rd highest grossing movie of all time. Like, I get it. Captain Marvel's kind of a generic superhero movie, but I enjoyed it. I thought it was fun. Like, that had a generic, like, girl power message, which I think was fine, and I enjoyed it. But, like, you didn't like that either. So it just seems like you just don't like superhero movies led by women, because you don't like when it's just a fun, light adventure, and you also don't like when it's taking itself seriously and trying to talk about issues that don't get talked about a lot. So, what do you want? I guess you already said you just want to see Scarlett Johansson naked. Porn exists if you want to just go look at naked people. You know that, right?
Starting to see right now, and that's what this video is about. Is Black Widow going to be filled with intersectional feminism? Is it going to be woke? I think the answer is yes, based on what we've heard from Miss Pugh there, Kate Shortland, and Scarlett.
Putting themes of sexual assault in a movie now is considered woke, or like assault on your bodily autonomy. That's woke now. Can we get just a list of things that aren't woke, just so it's easier for all of us? The sexualization of women, women without agency, movies with all white people. These are the not woke list, and then the woke list is like literally everything else.
Scarlett Johansson, which we'll get into in just a second. There's also the problem of actors sometimes being a bit hyperbolic and making a little more out of their film than what it really is, which ends up doing damage by turning off your audience.
Catalina Gearbox for $3, and like every X-Men character backstory wasn't and like every X-Men character's backstory wasn't an abuse story. Yeah, there's a lot of that in X-Men.
There's also the problem of Disney letting the MCU collectively go to their heads and thinking it is now an influential cinematic universe instead of an entertaining cinematic universe.
What? There have always been political themes in the MCU. The entire first Iron Man movie is about him learning that war profiteering is wrong. That's his character arc. What?
There's also Disney, which has taken quite the black eye lately, and I think that's going to stick in the back of a lot of people's heads.
Captain America was literally about fighting Nazis. Captain America 2 was about, like, surveillance of the government on its citizens. Like, what?
When they think about going to this film, there's also
Stephen J. Neptune, man, with 10 bits. Press junkets are probably the most boring part of being an actor, in that you have to keep coming up with different ways of saying, go watch my movie and give me more money. I agree. Tavarian Elazar, thank you for following. Welcome to the stream.
Also, the problems that they have that aren't their fault. There's the coof. It's not going to be able to be in as many theaters as it wants to be in, so obviously it's not going to make as much money as it wants to make. And there's another problem. The solo factor. You're watching a film about a dead character. You know where this character ends up. And while Natasha didn't die as badly as Han Solo did, I would call it a bit unnecessary. You can just recast these roles and you end up having that problem as well. So we will see. Now,
Antipodian Squid with 50 bits. Black Widow's origin story is filled with abuse and conditioning, which is fine, but don't make it the focal point of her origin movie. Jeez, this guy. Yeah.
quickly, we get to Scarlett Johansson.
I assume, and I also think this is setting up the fact that Scarlett Johansson, I think this is Black Widow's sister in the movie. I think they're setting up that she's going to be the new Black Widow in the MCU. So I think that's part of it. But also, like, yeah, I am interested in the Black Widow movie. I like the MCU. I'm interested in pretty much everything they put out. I'm not saying everyone does, but I think enough people like Black Widow that they want to see a movie with her. Does this guy know almost every character dies? No idea. Tucker White 94, does this guy know nothing about the history of comic books? They've always been a reflection of the political values of the time they came out. Look at comics from the 40s. Yeah, comics from basically any era are like that. The other day we looked at a comic on here where Captain America in a what-if situation gets put in a fascist version of the U.S. It's very interesting. Like, Marvel Comics in particular have never shied away from talking about political content. They just haven't. And if you think otherwise, then you have either not read the comics or you have not paid any attention outside of the boxes that include punching things.
Speaking in a lively new joint interview with Florence Pugh about passing the Black Widow baton, which you can now read in the new Dune issue of Empire, Johansson opened up about the film's feminist themes. I think this film in particular is very much reflective of what's going on in regards to the Time's Up movement and the Me Too movement. She says, it would be such a miss if we didn't address that stuff. If this film didn't take that head on, I think particularly for Kate, it was so important for her to make a movie about women who are helping other women, who lift up other women up out of a very difficult situation. I like Scarlett Johansson. I think she's a great Black Widow. She probably deserves better. It's too bad they made her film in 2019. That being said, I can only go by what they say publicly, and ScarJo just said that they will be playing to Kate Shortland's strengths, which obviously aren't superheroes, but they probably are intersectional feminist themes, so you can't blame us.
Oh no, politics in my movies, literally every movie. I hate these people.
Being skeptical.
They're such morons. It's ridiculous. Is Jake gonna stream?